Hey everybody, it is Thursday afternoon and I was unable to work today. It was raining this morning and I thought it was going to continue raining throughout the day, but it didn't, and now it's completely cleared up and a beautiful sunny afternoon. So I thought we could take a little stroll around the yard and see what's going on. I mowed the lawn yesterday and everything looked pretty good, but I've not been out yet today, so who knows what we might see. Some fallen branches, new flowers opening up that I'm unaware of so far, etc. Not that it's really worth pointing out too much, but our Nandina is flowering. This little bush you see there. Our coneflowers, or echinacea, whichever one you want to call that, are starting to fill in. They're not blooming yet. They won't be going for another couple of weeks. We also have a lot of rudbeckia, which is the Maryland state flower. It's commonly known as black-eyed Susans. Got a lot of those coming up. Our phlox are getting ready to go. So we're kind of between everything right now. The only thing we've really got flowering at this point are some hostas, and of course our daylilies are starting to go. But we've got enough daylilies that they're worth looking at as we go around the yard. You can already see some orange ones up there. We've got some orange ones over there. We've got so many of those roadside orange daylilies. We don't know what to do with them. They were here when we moved in, and we've been trying to incorporate a different variety, but that takes time and we're getting there. So this is a big old burning bush right here. I'm sorry, butterfly bush, not a burning bush. It's starting to develop its flowers on the ends, but as of yet, no actual flowers. So like I said, we're kind of between everything right now. Up here you can see loads and loads of hostas. I actually came right through there with the lawn tractor yesterday because I need a path through there, so we lost a few hostas yesterday, but that's okay, they'll grow back. And if you look carefully, you can see flower spikes all over the place, so pretty soon the hostas are going to be blooming like crazy. So if we come over this way, we are in a likewise situation. There's one of the planters my wife put together. She always does a bunch of planters. This year we were a little limited on what we could get from limited access to being able to get out to the garden centers and stuff this spring, so we did the best we could with the planters, but they are a far cry from what they normally are, so maybe next year. All these here are the rudbeckia I was talking about, the black-eyed Susans, so that's all still developing and not blooming just yet. Over here, likewise, not a whole lot going on. We do have a bunch of these lilies that are now starting to bloom, and we'll see these more as we go around the yard. That one, in fact, is already starting to kind of pass its prime. And then this area is the one place where we've, my wife I should say, has put in a lot of different daylilies. The Stellodora right there is already done. You can see that's finished up. These tall lilies you can see here, and you'll see all over the place, are the tiger lilies I keep talking about. And if you look at those little black bulbs at the node of every leaf, every one of those is an actual bulb, and when it falls and lays on the ground, one little root will come out, and it's a contractile root. It will burrow into the ground and then it will contract, and it will slowly pull that bulb down into the ground, and then it'll burrow the root deeper, and then it'll contract again, and it will actually bury the bulb to the correct depth, and it'll bury the bulb below the frost line. So if anybody's interested in tiger lilies, let me know. In addition to like digging up small hostas and stuff like that, I can always get various plants shipped off to people. So if you want any tiger lily bulbs, let me know and I'll send you a bunch of them. And of course you can check my email down below, and that will be my way to contact me for that. So this clematis, this was here when we moved in, so this is probably well over 20 years old now. We've been living here for 20 years, and again, that was there when we moved in, at least as far as I remember it was. I suppose we might have planted it there in the early days, but I think that was there when we moved in. Not going to bother with going down the driveway, just some hostas and daylilies and all that sort of thing, and most of that stuff's not even blooming or doing anything at the moment. And my neighbor across the street is mowing the lawn, so it will get noisier and noisier as we make our way down the driveway. So the little piece of garden right next to the driveway bed right here is the temporary home of that piece of wood I found out at the reservoir the other day. And again, you get a pretty good idea of the size of that thing when you look at it out here sitting in the garden like this. So I don't know where that's going to end up permanently, but right now that's where it's sitting, and it looks fantastic. Got another clematis back here that normally produces gigantic purple flowers. They're like the size of my hand splayed out, and this year for some reason they're really small. They look the same, they're just about half the size they normally are, so I'm not really sure what's going on with that. Oh, I got another daylily blooming. Of course, it's facing the wrong direction, but this is a good looking daylily too. So that's blooming. Again, flower heads all over everything. So all of our daylilies that are not the roadside orange are not blooming yet. It's just the roadside orange ones that are. And of course, these hosta are all starting to bloom already. And we can go up and over, make it fairly quick. Nothing really going on over here. Again, just hostas that are getting ready to go. So we're either at the point where they're already done, like you see all these flag lilies right here have already finished, or tiger lilies haven't gone yet. So we're just sort of at that in-between point, like I keep saying. So let's head over this way. More hostas, lots of fern. I've already mentioned before that used to be a fern garden, but we've kind of just let it go back to the wild. You can see remnants of a garden, like hosta for example, poking out here and there, all throughout there. We've even got big hostas and stuff way back there if you go digging around deep enough. And then of course up here we are still in the same situation. Oh look, the wife will be glad to see that. We've been waiting for our hydrangea to finally bloom, and that is our first one. So I think I'll get a picture of that and send that to her while she's at work today. That'll be a nice little surprise when she gets off. Have a picture of our first hydrangea flower. Here's another hydrangea. This one just got transplanted, and you can see that's got a big old flower getting ready to go. So I'm going to call that a successful transplant. And I think she put one more up here somewhere as a transplant, but I'm not sure. And then we got the top side of this garden. Not a lot going on there. We do have a couple of these other lilies blooming, these pink ones, and we'll see some of them down here, so we'll see them as we come back around. Got our wind chimes there. Bamboo has come in nicely this year. You can see how tall it is. All the way up here is where the new shoots have come up this year. So that was much more open when we moved out here. A lot of that dense thicket through there is actually bamboo that I planted 20 years ago, and has finally given us the privacy screen I was hoping for after all these years. So this garden I normally approach from this side, and only because when I'm coming over from the house, this is the direction I'm coming from. Not like we've necessarily set it up to be approached from this direction. Oh, this is another example of either already done or not quite blooming yet. Most of it's hosta over here that will be flowering, and then we've got some goat's beard that is flowering at the moment. You can see all these white flowers. And then I believe this is also goat's beard. I get confused between the goat's beard and the astilbe. They're really similar looking, but I think the plants that are taller and more sort of spindly and the flowers are more branchy, I think are the goat's beard. And then when we get down to, say, this one for example, this is the astilbe, where the flowers are a lot more compact. Even the plant itself is a lot more compacted, And then of course we have more here. There's some pink astilbe right there. I believe that is more goat's beard. And then as we get down into this lower part of the garden, we get into even more of that kind of stuff. Oh look, this hosta's getting ready to start blooming. So let's go check on my oak leaf hydrangea. We just planted this last year and the deer already damaged it early this spring. You can see this deer damage. They nipped off the shoots as they first started coming in, but I spray deer repellent for a living, and so I just came out here and got my own garden sprayed for the first time ever. I've had to actually spray here, but we got on top of everything. So you can see, if you look closely, you can see some deer damage here and there, but I have since gotten on top of it, so we don't have to worry too much about that. And then down here, this is my favorite part. Oh look, we've even got awesome looking mushrooms going on down here. How cool is that? So all these are micro hostas, and you can see they've got their flower heads already. Those are full grown, full size hostas. Likewise with these, you can see all these tiny little flower heads. These are full grown. All these little tiny hostas down here. These are not. These are just sort of small. They haven't gotten big yet, but I don't believe these are actual micro hostas. They might be, but I don't think they are. I think these are just small. But all these with the little teeny tiny leaves are all micro hostas. This is one of our favorites. This one's called Wee. And yes, that is how it is spelled, and how it is. That is what its name is. W-H-E-E-E-E with an exclamation point. So more goat's beard, more hostas blooming, more astilbe, more deer damage. And nothing really to worry about or see down there. Got some seeds and some odd herbs and lettuce and stuff coming up over at our potting bench. Come here. I see you. And we've got Bootsy out here keeping us company. You gonna walk with us? We're almost done. Come on. More daylilies, more tiger lilies that have not yet gone off. More hostas. And then we've got these lilies all over the place, and they're starting to bloom now too, these pink ones. Not sure what particular type these are. I got these from a cousin of mine years ago. Divided his up, and he had so many of them, he just gave me a shoebox full of little bulbs. And I gave them away, and I planted them all over the place, and so we've got a bunch of those too. Yeah, I see you. All right, and that brings us back to where we started. Not terribly scenic today, as I pointed out many times. Not a lot going on right now. Not a lot actually flowering. So still worth looking at. Gives you an idea what it looks like from week to week as we progress through the summer. So in another, I don't know, week to 10 days, something like that, we'll do another one of these. We'll have a look at what the yard looks like once all this stuff is blooming and flowering, and you get to see all those hostas in full bloom, and you get to see all these awesome tiger lilies, because they really are fantastic once they get going and start blooming. So there you go, everybody. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you real soon in the next one. Thanks again.